So one thing that's become really clear for me is that everything is divine. Whether it's a funky sound coming out of the phone, the feeling of love in your heart, the cars driving by. And that so often we get caught up in the movement of life, in the movement of things. Seeking seems to have movement. Reaching for a partner seems to have movement. And both are true. There is a quality of movement, and yet there's absolute stillness present in the midst of that quality of movement. And what I'm interested in this evening is sharing about both of those, because both the movement, it's all good. It's all good. Both the movement and the stillness are pathways home. Because home is everywhere, and no pathway is needed, because it's all present and here already. But when we're in the quality of movement and wanting that sense of direction, and we're wanting to find that path, either works. And so I'm wanting to speak about how seeking can be a path to bring you back home, and reaching in partnership can be a path to bring you back home. And you can either follow the path, or you can drop the path and just show up. It's all good. It all works. So I'm wanting to speak about those different things tonight. One thing that's remarkable to me is how movement and stillness can be simultaneously present. I'll often speak about that quality of seeking, how there's this quality of being propelled, and yet the propelling is actually arising from stillness. And there's a way to rest in the quality of seeking where there's no movement. Seeking is a gorgeous tool of manifestation of the divine. Seeking is the so that quality of seeking, when there's an inner, it feels like an inner movement that says, go this direction today, call this person now. Oh, stand in front of that flyer sign. Oh, look over here. That's that feeling of movement when seeking has a sense of direction. And so it's useful, it's divine, it's part of how the universe functions. It's how we get to point A, from point A to point B, in that divine discourse, that divine experience of oneness, experiencing itself and talking to itself. So ultimately, you are here and you're the flyer and you're the impulse to go find the flyer. It's all oneness talking to itself. But in terms of us experiencing ourselves individually and in this manifestation, it's a way of getting from point A to point B. And so when I'm speaking about these different qualities, it's not that one is better than another, that you should go with movement or you should drop into stillness. It's all true, and it's all divine. Part of where people can get caught is in that experience of seeking and feeling that sense of being pulled or compelled, drawn. And identification gets caught up in that quality of movement. And people get lost in seeking and become addicted to the quality of seeking and finding. And in that role of seeking and finding, there's always two, when ultimately you're one. We're one, arising out of nothing. So I think it's really important and valuable to be present with that quality of seeking and see when it's serving and when it's a distraction and when it's an addiction. The being driven towards awakening or driven towards enlightenment, always seeking something that's outside or something that's other. One can do that for a really long time. And yet that same seeking is what gets you from point A to point B. And so I invite you to practice or play with on your own, exploring seeking. Explore that quality of seeking. Noticing it in your body, noticing where is it, what does it feel like, when does it arise. And rest with that. And notice where the seeking is arising from. It's such a beautiful thing, this unfolding, and seeking being one of the qualities, one of the expressions of the divine, of taking itself through an exploration of maturing, an exploration of existing and learning and growing and evolving and becoming wiser and wiser and more bright. And if there isn't a sense of one thing that can happen with the seeking is this feeling of being lost and a sense of desperation of trying to find that which has been lost. And if we stop for a moment and rest where all that experience is arising from, we're not lost. And then seeking can simply be the divine game of getting from point A to point B. You know, I'm thinking of a game board. You know, there's all sorts of different kinds of game boards that have the beginning and the end, and all sorts of cool stuff happens from the beginning and the end of the game. And there are directions on how to do it. And we're in exactly the same way. We're each our own game board. And we're each a unique, exquisite play of the divine, loving itself, experiencing itself in all sorts of different ways. And we're never lost. It's actually impossible to be lost. There can be the experience of being lost on the game board, but we're not actually, it's not possible. In partnership, often seeking can come and we can reach for what we think we've lost in ourselves, and we try to find in a partner. We try to find what we can't find here, where we've forgotten what is true. One thing that can be a really valuable exploration is looking at what it is that you're wanting in a partner. What are you seeking? Whether you're in partnership or not, what are you seeking within that concept of partnership? And everything that you're seeking, you actually already are. Everything you're seeking, you already are. And partnership can become a dance of two gorgeous divine mirrors playing at reflection. What have I forgotten? Let me see it there. What have I forgotten? Let me see it there. And then find it in yourself. It's been such a strange thing for me in my own life of seeking, and the experience of what has been sought. It's not like you ever get what you're looking for. Because in the getting, there's still two. There's you and then the thing that you're getting. So you don't actually ever get it. You realize it's actually what you are. And so the experience of that is really, really different than the quality of seeking and having, seeking and consuming, seeking and getting, seeking and being satisfied momentarily because it was tasted. What I'm talking about is a quality of surrendering, where you discover that everything that you're seeking is actually what you are. And it's why it's so funny with the seeking, because there's this quality that moves us to move across the game board. So it's natural to seek. It's part of the plan. It's how we're made. And yet understanding the subtleties of it can help you get to the end of the game in discovering you are the game board and you're every single piece on the game board, and you made up the rules and you can change the rules. And it's really different than controlling. It's not about having something. There's a complete surrendering in the becoming. And then you're always becoming. Life is always becoming. It is always arising. And simultaneously always disappearing. It's easy to forget that when our eyeballs and our senses are so immersed in this dense physical manifestation, what we're seeing. It's easy to forget and think that this is just what we are. So easy, I forgot what I was going to say. What was I talking about? Anybody can help me out? Thank you. Thank you. Disappearing, thank you, into nothing. An example. So it's easy to forget because manifestation is so clear and so consistent. In this vibrational reality, it's consistent. Things hold their form, they hold their shape. Our bodies seem to look like it's the same thing day to day, maybe not a few years later, but day to day. And yet, in listening to my words, it's really clear that the words I said a second ago are gone. Completely gone. And that's our nature. We are always becoming and always gone. And it's what can frighten us most, because we're so used to being in a substantive way that we forget that we're divine creation happening, appearing and disappearing every fraction of a nanosecond. And it seems valuable to speak to this, because if I'm going to be giving you pointers to coming home, I don't want to invite you home and freak you out. You know, it's like when our sense of self starts tasting the infinite, it can be frightening. But the game boards were made to play because they're fun. Because we love life. And so in surrendering into nothing, it's not that the game board disappears or your body instantly dies. There's a coming into resonance with the depth of what's true. And for some reason, realizing you're nothing is completely freeing. And so it's a becoming nothing and everything simultaneously, and having nothing. So I'd like to just sit for a moment. Just rest for a moment with the words that have been shared. And allow yourself to rest in just simply what's present.